Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Khushi Agarwal. Today we will be introducing a few useful tools in HCI to you people. These tools, we'll be introducing these tools along with certain techniques, and these will help you in your project and future HCI endeavors as well. So we'll be introducing Miro and Figma. Today's session will be divided into two sections. In the first section, we will go over mind mapping, brainstorming, and then move on to the tool Miro, which can be used for the process of mind mapping, brainstorming, and other design-related mappings as well. Okay, so to begin with, mind mapping by definition is used to represent how ideas and other items are linked to a central idea and to each other. So basically, as you can see on the right-hand side, this is exactly how a mind map looks. So there's no hard and fast rule as to how it should look or what is the format. It is just a process.
Dhruv, could you please mute yourself? I request everyone to be muted unless you have any question to ask.
Okay, so basically mind mapping is, so as we already have certain previous experiences and knowledge, so when we start thinking about a topic, that topic branches into certain subtopics, and those subtopics are also often branched into certain subtopics. So this is the natural way in which our brain thinks, and mind map leverages that natural thinking process of the brain. So it is used to generate visual structures and classify ideas in order to look for patterns and themes. So basically, as you can see, we map out ideas and then we cluster them as well into subtopics, right? So this way we are able to see the levels through which the ideas move, and hence we're able to figure out themes and patterns. So if you like I just mentioned earlier, that the way we think is very similar to the branches of a tree. That is, we start with the central concept and then move on to more detailed concepts and ideas. So this is the basic concept of mind mapping. So here you can see the structure of a mind map. So we start with a central subject, move on to different ideas, and then move on to sub ideas. So here they have numbered it from 1 to 4, but this does not mean that the ideas or the sub ideas are limited to a certain number. It depends upon the topic that we are covering. So also, mind mapping is based on the psychological, within the design process, it is also based on the psychological construct of the brain. So it also helps the designers in general to formulate ideas and look at how a normal person or the user would also use the, would also think about a certain problem space that we are talking about, or a certain problem area we want to explore. Now, as we can see, the mind maps are two-dimensional. So we can see how the ideas are divided into different levels. That is, first level being the subject, the second level being the ideas, the third level being the sub-ideas. So in this way, we're able to relate information with each other, to track back information if we want to. And hence it helps in efficiently structuring the flow of data. So as we have already studied information architecture in our tutorials as well, so in that form, so there we saw how information was flowing from one subject to further sub-subjects, right? So that helps, like that comes from how we formulate our mind map as well. So like mind map can be used for a number of acts, like so basically it is divergent thinking and not convergent thinking. That is, we start with one topic and move on to different subtopics. So if we want to divide certain things into steps, then we can use mind maps. If you want one central idea and want to explore its subtopics or go into minute details of a problem space, then also we can explore mind mapping. So this is an example by IDEO. This is how, like if you start mind mapping about certain topic, like here they're talking about a great dinner party with friends. So this is just a very simple and trivial topic in everyday life. But if you as well start mind mapping about this, you would be able to come up with different trains of thought. So I hope this gives you a brief idea of what we mean by mind mapping. So as you can see, the central idea is divided into further sub ideas, and they're also trying to link those sub ideas using these dotted arrows. So this can only be achieved after we are able to mind map. So we can trace back connections as well. So if we question ourselves how the concept of mind maps is useful in design thinking, so we already know the concept of the double diamond. So like I said, that it is a part of divergent thinking. So the discover and the develop part of the double diamond, here we can use mind mapping. So as it helps in discovering a lot of things that haven't been thought yet. So if we think of a problem statement, like just at hand, so we won't be able to list all the sub problems in the problem space.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so there is a lot of chat is going on, which is kind of, I believe, distracting others. So whoever has any question, we can discuss after the session, right? So please don't disturb the class. Khushi and Bhavya have put much effort in completing only for your good. If you don't want this session, we can stop. I mean, there is nothing with this, right? So please don't disturb the class about the subscription, about anything we can discuss after the class, right? Not during the class. I believe you need to do everything. Please don't disturb the class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, okay, talking about the double diamond. So I was saying that the discover and the develop part is where we can use the mind map. So reiterating what I said. So when we are looking into a problem space, a mind map would help us discover the minute details that we cannot look into directly, without the process of mind mapping or brainstorming as such. And then when we come to developing potential solutions. So it is possible that when you think of a problem statement that you only come up or think of a single solution. So when you think of a single solution, that might not be the best possible solution. So again, the task of mind mapping in order to link all the possible solutions and see how they are in themselves also connected, help us develop better potential solutions. So after this, as an act of mind mapping, we are able to formulate what we call as a problem statement, and which defines a problem space. Right. So we will definitely look into problem statement in more detail afterwards as well. But in order to make it easier for you guys to understand, once we are done with mind mapping, so we come up with a statement, and this statement is a description of the issue that we want to tackle or the issue at hand that we want to solve. This is definitely not the solution. So the problem statement is not the solution. It is just what currently exists versus what we desire to in a particular situation. So the process of brainstorming by definition is a method design teams use to generate ideas and solve properly defined problems. So it is a team task. So this is done in controlled conditions, as in formal conditions, where people can freely think and put in ideas. There's no restriction on the ideas that we are giving. And they try to answer questions like how might we, or how might they as designers solve this problem. So how is this a part of ideation? This is because as a result of answering the how might we questions on different levels helps us form a vast array of ideas. And we are able to, as we brainstorm, we're also able to connect those ideas, come up with problem solutions, which might not be mutually exclusive. So as they're not mutually exclusive, we can come up with a solution which is more like we have studied about accessibility and inclusiveness. So we can come up with solutions which are more exclusive and accessible. Okay, so moving on, we'll move on to the Miro board. So Miro is a collaborative tool. So Miro also has educational packs. So all of us can access Miro through an educational pack, and that would at least help us through the design projects we come across in college. Is the change in my screen visible? Can you see that?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. So okay, so when you open a Miro board, this is how it looks. So you can think of it as a pinboard or a whiteboard, where like in the physical space, it is analogous to a pinboard or a whiteboard. And here, the first thing that we can do is create frames. So you can see there's this toolbar on the left-hand side. This particular symbol is for putting up frames. So why I'm telling you about frames first, things first, this is because if we are doing some activity, like, undertaking some activity of brainstorming or mind mapping or site mapping, etc., it is always a good habit to put it in a frame so that you can easily move it around. So just information. Okay, so so here, Miro provides us with a vast variety of templates. I could say that it would provide you with all possible templates that you require for the process of design thinking. And there are a number of use cases that they have divided it into. So we have not looked much into them. However, I'll just show you what all there is and how you can add a template. So let's say I want to add a concept map. So they give us an option to use a pre-filled example or a blank template. So I'll go with a blank template. So this is basically what you get. Of course, this is not like you can add on to this concept map if you want, and I'll show you how. So these are post-its. These are analogous to real life post-its that we use. And we can double click on them and write. Okay. So these arrows are basically what makes Miro a useful tool for design thinking. So here you can see that this particular post-it has been connected to another one. So let's say this is idea 1. And this is idea 2. So I hope you guys can see how we can use templates. We can also, so we can add post-its using this particular symbol. So let's say I want to add another post-it over here. So I can resize the post-it and place it here. So see, it's that easy to connect another post-it to your existing design, and you can resize it anytime. You can add as many arrows, as many post-its as you want. Now looking at arrows, so there are different types of arrows that Miro has to offer. So I'm not sure about whether you guys are still like currently aware of it or not, but a number of different arrows are there to indicate different things. Like you might learn this in your programming courses or designing courses. So you can change the kind of arrows used. You can also change the thickness of the arrows. So if you want to. So like these are all minute tools that Miro provides, and I'm just mentioning them to you. Apart from this, you can also add shapes. So like apart from the post-its, I can add any sort of shape and write inside the shape as well. So if you want to make flowcharts, if you want to you want to present your ideas in certain formats, so all kinds of shapes are available. And definitely we can connect them using arrows. We can connect shapes to post-its as well and resize the post-its as well. Above this, we can also annotate or write by hand in Miro. So if you have a tablet or a graphic tablet that you want to use to write, so of course I'm using a mouse right now, so this is not the best possible use case. However, if you want to actually annotate using a touch screen device, so it is easy to do so. We can also highlight. And now Miro is, given us enough freedom to, like, they have included smart drawing features as well. You can use colored markers, etc. So like all of these tools are helpful as and when you are ideating. So it is possible that you want to highlight certain concepts, you want to tick or cross certain concepts. So all of these things, might come in handy when you are working on your project. Apart from this, you can also upload images, files, already existing graphs if you want to analyze them, etc. So Miro has, expanded its provisions now. So we can also, like, as it is a collaborative tool, so it also provides us with the ability to comment upon certain sections, just like we do in Google Documents or MS Word, MS PPT, etc. So we can comment. We can leave a comment for other collaborators to view in the future. Apart from this, there are a wide variety of other features we can use Miro for example, creating charts for wireframing as well. So this is something new that Miro has started recently. Then we can also add tables. So tables is one thing which is very useful. So a number of design processes require us to use tables. So we can use tables for that as well. Okay, so I will be sharing this link with you guys at the moment. So you guys can try to join. I'm not sure how many people can join in on the same board, but go ahead and try to join in. I'll be waiting for a minute. Yeah, so you guys can see how we can see all the collaborators coming in. So right now, I believe most of you guys are not using your Triple ID Delhi email ID. Hence, we are seeing dummy names like visiting thinker, visiting architect, visiting explorer, etc. Okay, so if you look at this specific board, board can be used for the act of brainstorming. So what is the concept of brainstorming? We start with one concept, we start with one topic, and then list out, okay. Guys, try to not move around.
Hide in there.
I couldn't hear that.
Khushi, I think you can hide the cursors using that prompt. So then
Right.
It would become better.
Yeah, great. Worked. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, okay. So yeah, because it's a new tool, so it'll take some time for you guys to get yourself accustomed to it. However, if I want to explain to you how it is primarily used. So if we look at this specific template, it can be used for brainstorming. So I can write a topic over here, let's say maths. So if I write a topic maths, so all of you guys places with how you, with what you relate maths to, let's say numbers for me, right? So you can try doing that. Yeah, X's and Y's. exactly. So yeah, see here I've used this yellow Post-it for mathematics. So try to, yeah, so we can try to constrain ourselves to the yellow Post-its for the same, because, you know, we are trying to brainstorm. So we'll keep one idea under one topic. Yeah, right, science. That is what I was going to do. You can talk about science over here. Experiments. So do you guys get the concept of how we can brainstorm using Miro, right? So, okay, moving on to mind mapping. So Miro also provides us with tools to mind map very easily. So this is a template that I picked up from Miro itself. Give me a minute. Okay, so probably, yeah. So I used this mind mapping template, and this is what it gave me. So we can start with the central idea, the central concept we want to look into. So let's say that we start with the concept, and after that we have an idea, idea one. So if you want to put in sub ideas into this Miro, like this mind map, so we start with the text tool. We write sub idea 1.1, and then we simply connect it. We can change the arrow type. We can make it solid. We can increase the width. So you guys get the idea, right? It's that easy to use Miro as a tool. You guys can try to fill in more into this. If you want, we can add in more. Yeah, good. You can talk about politely. So probably all of you guys can work on it simultaneously or after the class to actually come up with a mind map, and you will see how Miro as a collaborative tool facilitates this act of making a mind map so easy. And also, as you can see that, you know, a person might create a subtopic, and you might, you know, you might have not thought of that subtopic ever before, but as a result of somebody else mentioning that subtopic, you are able to think in that direction as well. So it helps in collaborative thinking, and which is very fruitful. So lastly, I had this sitemap in this new sitemap. Probably because this Miro board currently has a lot of traffic, so the application is a bit slower. However, it would work. Here. So we talked about an information architecture or sitemap in our tutorial, right? So we can try to populate this on the, like, based on a messaging application. So let's say a messaging application. Right. So how can we divide a messaging application? We can divide it into messages. We can divide it into group chats, individual messages, calling, voice call, video calls. Right. So inside chatting, we can talk about sending media, text, documents, links, files. Yeah. Yep. The view once option. Stories, if you're talking about WhatsApp, media sharing. So when we talk about shared media, can we divide shared media further into audio, video, documents, links, PPTs, PDFs, right? So do you see how the concept of mind map is also accommodated into a sitemap? So basically we're mapping. We're mapping how an application is made, can be made, and how it can work. I'll move this frame below this. Right, so this was about Miro. Like I tried to explain and tell you guys what all you can do. You can try to explore this more as this board will remain shared and you can stay on the board or come to this board afterwards. So if you guys have any doubts. Hi Suraj, will you please write the Miro link again? Sure, give me a minute. How to save a file. You want to save a file with respect to what? In Miro? I can show you how we can save something in Miro. Yeah, so let's say I want to export or save this particular frame. I select this frame. This option, there is an option to export as an image. So I can do that. If that makes sense. Easy to solve. Do we have to apply for Miro education plan using student ID? Yes, your triple IT Delhi ID would help. Any other doubts, or we'll move on to the next step? Can we save Miro project online? So basically this board will be saved on your Miro. Like once you become a collaborator, whenever you open Miro, you can access this board. So this is basically saved on cloud. Please show again from where do you see the templates? Okay, so do you see this toolbar on the left hand side? So this particular icon would give you the templates. Right? You can search for templates. How to share link for other members to create collaborative meet. Okay, let me show you. There's this option to share here. There are different ways in which you can share it. Okay, so you cannot add a text box with arrow. Wait, let me show it to you. I add a text box. I click on this. You see these 4 dots, an arrow. I click on this arrow. I can change the arrow properties like this. If I want, I can also add text. More like Lucidchart. Yeah, Lucidchart is also one application that you can use. It is more particularly used for making charts and diagrams. Any other doubts? Or shall we move on to yeah. Can we change the frame background? Absolutely. You click on the frame, you look at this, you can change color. So if I want white, if I want So we log in with triple ITD email and it works fine, right? So you log in with your triple ITD email. If you are not able to see a board of your own, like a team of your own, then you have to Google search and look for how to apply for education plan. Did we have to buy subscription? So the education plan allows you to make one team and use the application to some extent free for free. However, the full application is not available for free, so you'll need a subscription for the same. Are we supposed to have same layout all the time for brainstorming? No, not at all. Brainstorming is a free thinking task, as we already saw. So you guys do not need to have a particular template for it per se, but you know, the concept remains the same. We start with one topic, we brainstorm about it, or we start, you know. So you can have different templates, you can come up with your own creative templates as well. For example, any other layout. Yeah, so brainstorming, there will be a number of brainstorming layouts that you would find online given by different schools of opinions. However, it is not necessary that you follow a particular layout. You can come up with your own layout. You can choose whatever fits your thinking process at that time. So the part of project will that you have to do will be mentioned in the project guidelines. So we can take that up from there. Right now, I guess it's about time and we can shift to Figma. So I'll stop sharing my screen and
Okay, so I'll just share my screen. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, great. So now we will be discussing how sketching helps us in design and also how we can use Figma for reaching towards our proposed solution and making a prototype or a mock-up for our solution. Okay. So let's start with sketching. So sketching is a very effective tool in design, and it is an efficient way to communicate your ideas and designs while allowing the designers to iterate multiple ideas before settling on one. So you will see that when you start working on your projects, as you go through your mind mapping and brainstorming, you will soon reach to a stage where you now need to start conveying your ideas to your teammates, that how you want to design something or what do you want to do for it. So sketching will act as a very important tool over there, and you will be able to quickly convey your ideas by just drawing some very simple sketches. They do not have to be very high quality sketches, but they should be good enough to be able to convey your idea to your teammates. And you can then keep improving your sketches. You can keep iterating over them before you settle on a final solution or idea. So sketching can be used for idea generation. You can draw rapid sketches for different things that come to your mind, and then that will further enable you to think more, think in different directions, and you can draw sketches for those too. So it is again like a very open process, and you can draw very quick sketches to be able to convey your ideas. And at a later stage, these sketches can also be detailed further. So you can come up with a very rough sketch to start off with, and then you can keep detailing them one step at a time to be able to convey your idea more clearly. Right, and then we can also obtain wireframes from sketches. So wireframes would be something like, let's say you are designing an application, so you want to show different screens of your application and what the functionality or the purpose of each screen is going to be. So over there, you can draw each screen as a wireframe, and then of course you can draw arrows. You can connect different screens to different parts, and that's how you can convey how your application would work if it were programmed and made into a real application. So sketches are really helpful for this purpose, and you can draw quick sketches on paper. So all you need is pencil and paper. So it's not at all resource intensive, and you don't have to even worry much about its quality and how it looks. So you can iterate over your sketches. You can add annotations to them. So let's talk about what annotations are. So let's say that you randomly draw some screens on a piece of paper, and then it becomes really difficult for others to understand what you have exactly drawn or what should happen with that. So annotations help you in making it clear to other people, as well as for your own self-thinking, that what you're trying to convey with it. So annotations can be names, they can be labels, or they can be textual explanations that are located next to different parts of a sketch, and then you can expand them to clarify the meaning of any element that you're trying to depict. Right. So then you can also add notes. So notes can again be any sort of text. It can be any explanation. You can also explain the action sequence. You can try to explain what this feature you think is supposed to do. So you can use notes to depict all of this in your sketches itself. So you can clarify the purpose of each and every element or feature, or you could also try to use these notes to record your thought process at that moment. That what was your thought process when you first drew the sketch? Right? So all of these, when you add these elements to your sketches, they become very detailed, and they help others see, like understand your point of view and from where you're coming and how you have come up to this sketch or solution. Right? And then you can, of course, draw arrows to illustrate the interaction flow or a sequence of events in your sketch itself. So yeah, and ultimately using these sketches, you can think of alternate solutions, you can think of improvisations in the solutions, and then come up to a final solution as well. So this is an example of a sketch which is just trying to depict how users are feeling using particular technologies or particular applications. So like you can see in the left, the person is sitting on a bench and seems to be quite angry or like disturbed by something while using their phone. So we are using posture variations and facial emotions to be able to communicate a wide range of actions, situations, and perspectives that the users are facing. So it's not at all difficult to draw, as you can see, but still it conveys a very good picture of what the user is feeling. Similarly, on the right-hand side, the user is using something like an ATM and seems to be at peace with it. So this is one example of a sketch. Then if we look at sketching more from the context of designing an application or designing a product, so you can see over here, this is a very, very rough sketch. It looks like a very initial idea. So it shows one screen over here, and it shows different buttons and elements on it. And then there are some arrows and textual annotations as well. So you can see that from the arrow over here, the person is probably trying to detail the sketching of this particular element on the screen. And then they have written some text notes over here, canceled some ideas, etc. So it's a very rough process. Does someone want to say anything? Okay, please mute if you don't have a question or anything to comment on. And let's move to the next sketch. So this is again a sketch of, let's say, a profile page for some application that a person is designing. And they have highlighted where different sort of photos will come in, how they can be scrolled using these arrow buttons. They can write a post, share a photo. So they have basically made a paper mock-up of what the application would look like. So this is a really quick way of trying to see what your solution is going to look like, what elements it's going to have, which buttons, which features will be placed where in the app. And since it is just a sketch, you haven't programmed anything, you can always iterate over it, you can improve it to get the best design that your users are going to like. So this is another example. So this is the mockup of application interface. So it's just showing a few buttons. It is something similar to Paint, I believe, and it doesn't even write proper text. It's just showing that this is where the buttons would be placed. This is probably a scroll bar on the left, and these are the different tools, and this is the application screen. So let's talk about low fidelity prototyping in specific. So a low fidelity prototype is a quick and easy tangible representation of a concept. So you can again use the sketching as a tool to be able to come up with your low fidelity prototypes. And low fidelity prototypes are supposed to be quick and easy to make. And using them, you can represent your concepts. You can represent a use flow, that how the user would be led from one screen to another, or from one part of the app to another, and how they are going to reach to their goal. And you can also form your information structures for getting quick feedback from the users. So you can, like it is seen in the image on the right, this is a low fidelity prototype, and it is mocking a tablet. So the users can interact with this. They can tell their initial thoughts and feedback to you about the low fidelity prototype. So you can quickly take their feedback, and you can improve the product. Right, so these prototypes are generally characterized by low technology implementations. Like you can see here, there is actually no technology involved. It's just paper, pens, highlighters, and different colored papers, which are being used to put together the low fidelity prototype. And you can use a variety of materials like sheets of paper, cardboard, glue, straws, and even Lego blocks. Let's say you're making some tangible application, which is not a website or an app, but you're making something like a 3D gun for playing a game. So you can make it quickly using a Lego block, and you can see what the structure should be like and how things should look like. So these are all the materials that we can use for low fidelity prototyping. So it's a very low resource and low technology implementation. So this is another example of a lo-fi prototype. So in short, we also call low fidelity prototype as a lo-fi prototype. And this is an example of a lo-fi mobile prototype, wherein they have drawn different screens of an app, and they have used placeholders to indicate different things. So you see these boxes with a cross within. So it is just to indicate that something of this form will be present over here on the screen. It could be an image, or it could be a video placeholder, and so on. And then these lines are being used to depict that there will be text written over here. So it's a very rough sketch that is made on these sheets, which just have this mobile screen sort of printed on them. And then, as you can see on this sheet below, so there are also a few annotations on each of these sheets that what the screen is, and they have given numbers to it. And we can also see a few arrows over here, which might be showing that which screen or what part of the app leads to what. So yeah, so now let's see that. So this is an example where a lo-fi prototype has been actually made, and then following the design process, they would have reached the final website for their product. So you can see how the testing with the lo-fi product, and by making this prototype with different colors and indicating the positioning of different elements over here, they would have probably improved on this. And then after the lo-fi prototype, they were finally able to come up with their high fidelity prototype. So the benefit of this is that without even coding once or without writing any application, you're able to quickly test out what your app should look like, if there are any improvements to make. Because at a later stage, if you first code your application and then you want to make changes, that is going to be very expensive and time consuming for you. So it's better that you visualize your entire product as a low fidelity prototype, and then you move on to the coding elements of it. So this will be useful in your projects also. So how are sketching and lo-fi useful in design? So you can see that sketches play an important role in conveying ideas and discovering potential solutions. So while you're brainstorming solutions, you can draw quick sketches to see what the solution would look like, and they can convey ideas to the rest of the teammates as well. And low fidelity prototyping helps in demonstrating the functionality of your app. It can help you visualize the user flow, and it also helps you in identifying the underlying issues right during the development of the solution. So these tools will mainly be helpful for you in the development stage of the double diamond. So are there any doubts till now? Okay, so if there are no doubts, let's go ahead. So I'll be showing you a
Kapil, there is this doubt in the chat box. Shall I read it to
Okay.
you?
Yeah, I'll just open the chat.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So if we draw these sketches on any online platform, will it be considered as low fidelity, considering it is not very detailed? Yeah, so you can definitely make low fidelity sketches online as well. So Figma is one of the tools where you can do this. So you can draw slightly detailed prototypes over there, and Figma is mainly a prototyping tool only, and it is a web-based tool, so it is online, just like you did Miro. So over there also at Figma also you can collaborate with your teammates, and you can draw mockups together. So yes, you can make a low fidelity online, and it doesn't have to be very detailed. Probably the prototype doesn't even need to have colors. So one important thing that this reminds me of is that a lo-fi doesn't focus on the exact UI elements. So because it is a sort of a testing phase, so you can just draw, the focus is majorly on the user flow and the user experience. So the paper prototypes do not have to look polished, and similarly, if you're prototyping on an online tool, it doesn't have to be as polished again. So yeah, an online prototype can also qualify as a lo-fi prototype. Okay, so let's move to Figma, and I'll be showing you a sort of a stage in between the low fidelity prototype and the actual website implementation. So this is for one of the previous projects, and Figma was used to come up with the idea for it. So we first made a low fidelity prototype on paper itself, and then we moved to Figma to make a slightly more detailed and also give our application a visual sort of representation, like what should be the colors that are being used, what should be the logos, and the exact placement of different images and parts on the website. So this is like a mid fidelity prototype, which lies in between the low fidelity and the high fidelity. So let's check out how things are working over here. So before actually drawing the screen, I'll try to show you what are the different things that are present over here on Figma. So let's see that this is the landing page of my app. So this is, you can basically consider this as a tool which helps you draw different frames, and it allows you to make different elements on those frames to indicate what are the different components of your website. So like over here, we can see that on the landing page, I have this sort of a header, which is having a few text, and possibly these would lead to different pages in my app. And then I have my logo also present over here. And then I have the name of my app. And then I have the home and help buttons to link to those pages. Then I also have the name of my app here and the tagline of the app. So all of this was added by just using simple text elements. So I'll also show you how you can make your own screen from scratch in just a moment. And this background over here, it's a simple rectangle. So it's again a very easy to use tool and you can collaborate with your teammates here. Then you can look at this page also. It just consists of very basic elements. It has the header over here, and then it has different cards for the user to click on. So it is it's not a very polished version, but it is enough to indicate what information is going to go on different pages. And similarly, you can see that there is a contact page over here, and then there is a learn more section page over here. Then there is a help page, and then there is an online hearing test sort of mock-up over here, which is showing what would be the different screens that the users would encounter when they start a online hearing test, let's say. So now comes the main charm or the sort of most exciting part in Figma, that you can actually create a mockup which helps you click on different buttons on the screen that are present over here, and that will help you navigate through the application. So for anyone, you can play this mockup and you can show them what your application looks like and what elements would link to which other pages or features of the app. So over here on the right side, you can see that currently the design panel is selected. So if I go to the second one, which is prototype, you will suddenly see that there are a lot of connections over here. So you can create all of these connections one by one for each of your pages. And these connections are basically indicating my user flow, that where the user will be led for whatever button they're going to click on or whatever button they'll interact with. And then you can actually play this out for your users or for other teammates for them to understand what's going on. So let's look at the flow. So before we look at the flow, I think, would anyone like to point out any problem? Let's say that this is my home page, this is my landing page. And when I click on home, I would want the screen to switch to this screen. So currently there exists no connection from this button to this screen. So let's see how you would make a connection in that case. So I would just click on this and you see this plus icon over here, right? So I'll just take this plus icon, I'll drag and I'll go to the screen and you see that it automatically connects to it. And when I connect this to my home screen, you will see that interaction details pop up over here. So this is one interesting thing, that you can also define when this button should lead to the other page. So currently on click is selected and then the interaction is navigate to. So it means that when I click on home, it is going to navigate to this page. And I can change these interactions. So I can also select on drag. So whenever this element will be dragged by the user, in that case, it will navigate to this page, for instance. Similarly, there are other interactions like while hovering, while pressed. So hovering would be that when you move your mouse over home, in that case, it should navigate to the other page. Then while pressing is there, then there is key or gamepad, then there is mouse enter. So when your mouse enters the region of this button, or when mouse leaves the region of this button. So that's the option mouse leave. So you can see that you can like select these configurations to a great detail. So you can sort of create a mockup for very varied applications that you want to design. And similarly, with navigate to also, you can select that whether you want to navigate to it, you want to open an overlay, and you want to scroll to, or you want to open some link. So you can tweak all of these as well. Then you can also add animations to it, whether it should be instant or it should dissolve, move in, move out, and so on. Just like the animations that you might have used in PowerPoint. So yeah, so like this, I've added a link from my homepage button to the homepage. Similarly, I can add it for the help button. So let's say when someone clicks help, I want them to be led to the help section. So there we go. And then again, this interaction details box pops up, and I can make any changes if required. So now that I've connected these two as well to my to the rest of my application, let's see how my prototype would look like. So there is a play button present over here, and you can use this to present your app. So it takes a while to load, and then it would be just like a sort of presentation that you make, just like in PowerPoint, just that you'll be able to press different buttons, and that will lead to different screens for you. So there is a doubt in the chat. Yes, you can add a loading screen as well. So when you're using a tool like Figma, it is very important that whatever you want to do, if you're facing any problems while doing it, or if you're having any sort of doubts, you're not sure how to do something using Figma, it's always a good idea to Google it up. So you would be able to find YouTube videos which will walk you through the particular process, and you will also be able to find blogs for the same thing. They will tell you step by step how you can achieve a particular functionality. Like I will show you in my prototype as well. I wanted to create a scroll bar, and I wasn't able to do it myself. So I referred to a YouTube video, and then I was able to create a scrolling effect in my application as well. I'll just try loading it again. Yeah, so if you want a pop-up window to appear, you can again do the same thing. So you can probably create another screen which has your pop-up window, and at whatever user action you want that pop-up window to appear, you can switch the screen with the one that has your pop-up window mockup. So you can achieve all of these effects using Figma. Okay, I'm not too sure why this is getting stuck over here and not presenting. Okay, so I think in the meantime that it loads, we can try seeing how we can create a screen from scratch. So let's say now that this is more like a website, and it looks like the shape that this frame has. This would work well for a laptop like device, or a computer like device which has a broad screen as and the height is less as compared to the width. But let's say now I want to use this app on a phone screen. So that might present some challenges, because as a designer, I would want different objects to be placed differently in my mobile app, right? I wouldn't want like all of these cards to appear horizontally. Probably I want that when I scroll down, that's when I should see all of these cards. Similarly, if I want to design this screen on a phone, it would become extremely congested if all of this information appears horizontally, right? So when you're making an application, you would want it to be flexible, and you'd want it to be in a way that it can show up on devices with different screen sizes, and it should still look good, and the user should still be able to easily use them. They shouldn't be zooming in and out of the app again and again. So let's try to create this landing page, and see how it would look like on a phone. So for this, I'll try to add a frame. So I'll go over here. The frame icon is quite similar to what we had seen on Miro, and I'll select frame. So over here, you'll see that a lot of different kind of frames would show up. So this is these are the phone frames that are available over here. And then you can also have tablet frames. So there are different sort of sizes, and the pixel sizes are mentioned right next to them. Then similarly, you can have desktop frames. So currently all of these are, I think, desktop frames. And then you also have presentation frames, and you can also have a watch frame since smartwatches are on the rise. So, okay, and this is also loaded. So we'll just go through this and come back to the prototype. And yeah, similarly, you can have paper also. You can have social media frames. So you can see that most of the popular social media forums like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they're already present over here. So you can use them to depict Facebook posts or Instagram posts and so on. Yeah, and then there are a few in the archive as well. So for now, let's go to phone and let's take iPhone 8, let's say. So it gives me the screen dimension that an iPhone 8 would have. And now I would want to design the landing page for my web app in this screen size, right? So again, I would have a header, but probably since I have very less horizontal space, I would want to omit a few details so that I can fit in everything over here. So let's say I'll keep the logo, I'll remove the name of my website, and I'll keep the home and help buttons, right? So I'll just copy paste the logo since it's just an image, and I'll shift it over here. And now I want to create these home and help buttons, right? So ideally I would have copy pasted them because I already have it. But if you want to make something from scratch, so we'll look at that. So I'll select this text option from here. I'll create a text. So in this text box, I'll write home, and I'll make a similar text box again, and over there I'll write help. So let's align these over here. Yeah. So once I've aligned this, now I want to create the body of my web page. So I'll use a rectangle over here. And for that, over here, you have all the shape tools and you can select different shapes. So currently I'm picking a rectangle, and I'll just adjust it on my frame. And once this is done, I want to give it the same color code because you'd want your application to look consistent over different screens. So let's see how we can color this rectangle. So I guess most of you would be aware that colors have different hex codes, and each color can be represented as a hexadecimal code of 6 characters. So I'll copy this code from here. And for this rectangle also, under fill, I'm going to paste the same code. So I get the same color over here as well. Now I want to add the name of my website and my tagline. So I'll again use the text to do so. So I've added the name. I can use this like a common text, like you use features in a common text editor. I can bold stuff. I can increase the size of my font. Let's make it 50. And yeah, then I can position it. Then similarly, I can write the tagline. And again, I can use the text box to do that. And let's reduce the size to 28, let's say. So basically, the idea is that with Figma, you can create mockups of your app very easily. You can create it for different platforms also, like I'm doing over here for a website which is going to be used on the laptop versus a website that is going to be used on the phone. And then I can again connect these elements to different parts of it like we did previously. So let's have a look at what the mockup looks like then. So I'm here at my homepage, and you can see that these are the buttons that I can click on. So if I click home, it leads me to this page. And over here, again, I can interact with each of these cards. So I can click on hearing test, and it would lead me to the page where the hearing test starts. And then when I click a button, let's say start test, it leads me to what a page would look like when the test is going on. And then this is what the page would look like when the test ends. So if I want to go to the help section, I can go to the help section. And yeah, this is the part that I was talking about. So like when I was using Figma for this project, I didn't know how to make a scrolling element in Figma. So all it took was a simple Google search, and I was able to get a video on YouTube which explained how to do that. And then I was able to get this scrolling effect on my page in my mockup. So yeah, and you can go to any section, and this is how you can create a mockup, and it will help convey your user flow, and you can test out your user flow with different users as well. So are there any doubts about what we discussed?
Yeah, I have a clarification to make. So on the home page, we had different screens of different kinds of phones, like iPhone 8, 9, 10. And so basically we are just creating a frame for just one kind of phone. But usually what happens is one app adjusts to all kinds of phones.
Yeah.
When we, download one from the Play Store, we
Yeah.
usually adjust to all kinds of phones, whatever it might be. But here
Yes.
we are only creating for one specific kind of screen configuration.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, that is called as a responsive layout. So I'll also type it in the chat box. You all can feel free to Google it up. So generally all your websites and different kind of applications, they are responsive in the sense that they can adjust to varying screen sizes. So now, like you pointed over here, we have only a limited set of phones, and I'm selecting only one of them to create my design. Now you would see that the relative ratio of width to height would be very similar for all of these phones, right? So like over here I had taken iPhone 8, so I can also take iPhone SE, let's say. And if you compare it, so you would see that the ratio is pretty similar, right? The width to height ratio is pretty similar for them. Similarly, for the rest of the phones also, or rest of the desktop applications also over here. So when you actually code out an application, you would be focusing on this ratio. So it is still a good idea to create a mockup for only one phone or one specific model of a phone. Because later on, when you go to your coding stage, over there you would be specifying ranges. Like if my width to height ratio is in this particular range, then I want elements to appear in this way. If it is in this particular range, then I want things to appear the other way. So you can change the orientation based on the ratio over there when you actually code things out. So that's how a responsive layout works. And this is just to give you an idea or a representation of what the app would look like on different screen sizes. Yeah, so for Figma, I think over here, the frame size is fixed for different screens. So if you want to make an app which works for a tablet also, and a desktop also, and a phone also, you would have to probably design them and adjust the positioning of all of the elements manually. And then that's how the developer who is actually going to code the application is also going to take inspiration from your design and see that what elements should be placed where on the screen for different screen sizes. Yeah, so yes, so you can copy elements from one screen to another instead of doing it one by one. That is definitely possible. So let's look at how we can actually ease this process for us. And that is the next thing that we are going to discuss. So let's say I have my header over here now. And as you could see, I am using the same header on multiple pages, right? So it doesn't make sense to design this header from scratch every time. Because if I start designing it from scratch every time, firstly, it is time consuming. And secondly, I would not be able to position all elements in the exact same place every time. So it is going to create issues for the designer also. It will become very hectic for you to map it pixel by pixel and see that it comes to the same place. So a good idea is that for elements like this, which repeat on every page, you can group things together. So you can see that over here, things are already present in a group. So on the left side, you can see that all the components are being displayed frame wise. So if I just collapse all of this, So you can see that these are the names of different frames. So it's good that if you give logical names to your frames, so that when your application becomes really big and it has a lot of screens and elements to it, you should be easily able to find different parts of your app from here. So let's say I want to go to the contact us section. So I just have to expand this, and you can easily rename your sections as well over here. And yeah, so you can group things together. So over here, I have grouped this header. This header is a group. And when I click on this drop-down button, it expands into different components that it has. So it has this rectangle, which is forming the background. It has this logo over here. It has the home button, the help button, and the hearing aid text. So by grouping all of this, and how do you group things in Figma? Let's say I temporarily ungroup it. Yeah. So all of this is ungrouped now, so it will appear directly under the frame. And now when I want to group it, I will select all of this. So to select it, I'll just click, and then I'll hold down my shift key, and I'll click all of the elements that I want to group together. So you can see that all of them are highlighted over here. And then I can just do a right click and click on group selection. So now it has formed a group, and anytime I want to use this on another frame for my website, I can just copy this directly and paste it. So you can see that I can now use it anywhere. And an interesting part is that all of the connections that were present on this page. So we had seen, so if I go to prototype, we had seen that the home and the help buttons were connected to different pages. The logo was connected to the landing page. The same connections are already preserved over here. So you don't even need to make the connections again and again if you develop your prototype in a systematic way. So I see a question in the chat. Could you explain the essential things? So why do we need Figma? So again, the basic motivation here is that before we actually out our application and implement all the functionality, we want to ensure that the user flow and the user experience is good. We don't want that we first code out our entire application and then find out that, oh, there are major flaws in this and the user is not able to use it effectively. So we want to test all of this out early on in the very early stages of the solution, so that we are saved time and effort at a later stage. So this is the motivation for using Figma. So you can create detailed mockups over here. You can mock the flow of the application as well and test it out with users. So that gives you early feedback. You can make improvisations without having to code. How to save this project online as well as offline. Okay, so this project is already saved online. You don't have to do anything for it. So when you want to save it offline, what you can do is that you can export these frames. So you can export each of these as pages. And then again, this prototype that we had seen, this is shareable as a link. So you can share this prototype with anyone. You can share it with your teammates, with your instructor, for anyone who wants to test out your application. Like you would want to send it to some users. So you can simply take this link and you can share it. Right, so they would just see this prototype screen and they would be able to interact with it. And if you want to save your prototype offline, so you can select a frame. I go to the design part. I can select a frame, and then over here you can see the export button over here. So you can export a particular frame, or you can select all of the frames and export them together. So it will export as a PNG, or you can also choose a SVG or a PDF. So that's how you can export all of your screens and save them offline. Any other doubt? Okay, so just a quick recap of everything we discussed today. So these are the various tools. So Miro and how to add images. Okay. So firstly, you can directly copy paste images. So you can Google up any image, or if you have any image, you can directly paste it over here. Otherwise, you can go over here. You can go to File and you can go to, I think, Place Image. So it allows you to search for an image in your system and then upload it. Yeah, so just a quick recap. So we discussed how brainstorming and concept maps can be helpful for you to think about your problem and to come to like to explore it and come to a good set of ideas. And once you're done with that, you can come to sketching. You can use sketching as a tool. You can make mockups of your application on paper. You can see what works, what doesn't work. You can annotate stuff, and then you can also use tools like Miro and Figma for performing all of this. So these processes and these tools will be extremely helpful for you when you work on your project.
Thank you so much, Bhavya, and thank you so much, Khushi. So students, we still have probably 10 minutes. We can have question answer session or any doubts that you have. So yeah, let's come back to the people who are asking probably questions like what yes, Adobe Premium. Yeah, so we'll try to give you, right? We cannot promise, but we'll try to give you. Of course, not at individual basis, but definitely at group wise, we can try. All the series students, I believe, already have the access. Yeah, so but anyways, let's utilize this time for the questions on Miro and Figma, which Khushi and Bhavya has kindly covered. So any questions so far? So just to let you know, I mean, the questions related to this, we might also come on midterm, right? So feel free to ask. This is good time to get your query resolved.
Sir, the topics that we choose for our project, can it overlap in any